Hey, Chris,
Hi, Tim. Good morning.
I have to rub it in here now that I've got my sweet Tangibly gear on and you don't.
It's too
Yeah, look
hot
at
in
that. Isn't
Singapore.
that nice?
I'd die if I wore a big heavy
Well,
vest.
that, and I'm also reminding myself I still need to order yours.
Hmm.
That first attempt was a little big. Sorry about that. So I've got a few other people that have commented on how nice these vests are. So I probably need to get a little bigger order put in. So anyway, it's coming. It's coming. I
Awesome.
promise. I got a little time now, though. It's summer most places, and it's always summer in Singapore. So I
Exactly.
think you're in good shape. Anyway, episode 6, the Reasonable Measures podcast. Here we go. Today's case is we referenced it at the end of yesterday's case or last week's case. SigmaPharm, a Pennsylvania maker of generics. And I will say that this case uh, is unusual. As a couple guys who spend a lot of time reading trade secret case law and talking about cases, you start to see, kind of fairly repetitive pattern in cases. And this one is definitely an outlier. So I'm excited to talk about it. So Sigma Farm, maker of generics, um, started in 2005, and it was started by a guy who was a former professor of pharmacy at Long Island University, and pretty serious academic track record, 130 patents, 200 publications. So, yeah, serious scientist. And he recruited the five that are in this case, five ex-students to join him in the company, and which is not unusual in our world, right? We come out of this academic chemistry world. There's always professors going off and starting companies and dragging ex-grad students into the mix. All right, so that's 2005. So fast forward to 2014, 9 years later, a lot of time in startup years. And these employees get fired, and Sigma Farm then files a $849 million lawsuit against said ex-employees. Why 849? Why don't you just round it up to 850 at that point? It's I don't know, maybe 849 sounds more credible. And so, what happens next, Chris?
So this case is entertaining on a lot of different levels. Like you said, it's a whole different story. And yeah, ultimately, it was all about money, like most things. So they fired the employees, so they become ex-employees. They get hit with this massive trade secret misappropriation lawsuit. And lo and behold, there's no evidence. So, like in the court case, they scoured the laptops of the employees, did the full forensic dig through, and basically couldn't find any records at all. And it's interesting because when the professor was recruiting these people, he made very generous promises. So he told them they would get 5 to 10% equity each in the company, which this company was making millions of dollars in generic and even branded products. So potentially that could be a lot of money, but ultimately, they only got non-voting shares, 1 to 4% each, and then the real amusing or scary part is it had a 20-year vesting period, which is absolutely
Yeah,
insane. I mean, normally it's
yeah,
a couple of years, maybe 4 years for a long
right.
vest, but 20 years is just unheard of. Like that's ridiculous. And then on top of it, if these employees were terminated, the company could repurchase their shares for $1, $1.
Yeah.
So
So let me stop you
yeah,
there. And
there's
on
a
that
lot.
last point, I've seen a lot of deals over the years. Um, been part of a lot of startups, invested in a lot of startups.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, this is the deal. We get to buy the
Mm-hmm.
stock back, for $1
Yep.
if you're
Usually terminated for
if you're
cause.
if terminated for
Yep.
cause, yeah."
Right.
I just say, like, just run
Yep.
away. That's not the company you want to work
Mm-hmm.
for. Those are people that are like begrudgingly giving you stock in the
Mm-hmm.
company. Like, that never works. It's always just a mess. And so, yeah, my advice to people that are off, in startup world for the first time, if you see someone that has those clauses
Mm-hmm.
in their, typical employee stock option programs, I'd say, it's probably not going to land well, and you may want to just kind of
Mm-hmm.
keep looking.
Well, and the 20-year vest for me is a deal killer. Like, if anyone ever offered me that, I I don't know if
It's
I'd say
insane.
no or just laugh at them. Like, that's so
Yeah,
far off the curve of industry norms that it's
yeah,
just laughable. Uh, so of course the employees were upset, to be terminated because they had
yeah.
invested a lot of time and effort into building this company. So of course they countersued and ultimately won, almost $27 million from the company. And it wasn't the trade secret; it was actually breach of contract and breach of fiduciary duty in how the CEO treated them. So the employees actually ended up getting a pretty big payout, which again is unusual. Like most trade secret cases, if the defendant wins, everyone just walks away, right? There's
Right.
no cash trading hands. This one is again a whole different story from what we're used to
So,
seeing.
so just to replay that,
Mm-hmm.
company files a misappropriation case against
Yep,
5 individuals, right?
correct.
The courts say, "Nah, sorry, you've got no proof of this."
Mm-hmm.
And went back into the complaint. Um, they alleged that one of the scientists had improperly arranged a potential deal in India involving some of their materials. One of the scientists was allegedly working with a
Mm-hmm.
competing company to produce vaccines
Mm-hmm.
in a different country. So that was all alleged, and so apparently was not supported at the end of the day. So that
Mm-hmm.
all just kind of that all went away. And so at the same time, then these people that had been fired said, "Well, wait a second. Number one, we didn't steal your trade secrets, and number two, you probably owe us something
Yep.
based on your bad behavior." Yeah, and so they end up winning on those grounds. And how much did you say? 26.6?
26.6. It's real money.
Yeah, across five
Yep.
people. Uh, yeah, amazing. Um, yeah,
Now
you
one
just
of
never see something quite
Yeah,
like
no,
this.
it's
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 wild.
it's bizarre, and one of the challenges of bringing a trade secret lawsuit is you're usually under a lot of time pressure. So someone takes your information, or a partner does something wrong, you
Yeah,
actually need to act quickly, and
right.
that's why we always suggest tangibly to have your ducks in a row just in case,
Yeah,
uh, because you need to stop the misappropriation quickly, but you still need evidence. In this case, if you can get past the drama of it, it's
yeah,
good in a way because it says, you can't just have no evidence at all, or you can't make up stuff that's unsupported. You need at least some degree of evidence, and it can be refined during the litigation, which is fine. But you can't just go in blindly accusing people of doing things
yeah.
without something to back it up. And clearly here there was no evidence. Uh, Even the vaccine thing, there was something about, I forget if SigmaPharm or the other company wasn't even in the vaccine business, so
Yeah.
it was nonsense basically.
Yeah. Well, it's again, just a cursory look at at case law. Looks like there's more stuff there. There's a patent infringement case so filed against them, and a handful of others.
Yeah,
There was
SigmaPharm's
a
actually been in a number of lawsuits, so they're no
yeah,
strangers to the court. But this one, it's again, it's kind of dramatic and interesting for those of us who read these cases all the time.
yeah. I just wonder, like, okay, someone, yeah, on the inside, either them or their lawyers needed to have like a, a fairly, feet on the ground
Hmm.
perspective that there's really nothing here, right? So
Hmm.
is this just a let's intimidate these people, file this big,
Hmm.
throw a big number like 849 on it, and I don't know what happens. Like maybe they just run away
Hmm.
whimpering and don't come asking for their equity that we owe them, or like
Yeah,
it just
it
feels
could be.
like, yeah,
It could be. I mean, most fired employees don't have the time or resources to fight a huge lawsuit. So if they may have thought, oh well, these people will just fold or walk away, and I'll send them $1 in the mail and take all their shares. Uh,
right,
that's entirely possible, and it would explain a lot for sure.
wild. Yeah, well, I think yeah, we need to dig a little deeper and see if we
Hmm.
can find a corollary to this one somewhere. Very kind of crazy fact pattern, that's for
Hmm.
sure. Um, any other uh, sort of kind of words of wisdom here for for the employees? I mean, I think when I see that let's buy it back for $1, it's kind of a red
Yep.
flag. Yeah, when you see a 20-year
Yep.
vesting on
Hmm.
equity, kind of run
Something's
the other
wrong. Yep.
direction. Um, yeah. Wonder if this is just, this was never really meant to kind of behave like a
Hmm.
venture financed company, right? Which
Hmm.
those are just not normal
Yep.
in real venture backed
Sure.
companies. So, maybe it's a little bit of like one of these things. It's, yeah, this is kind of a
Hmm.
family business, right?
Yep.
And, you'll find more of these kind of oddball
Hmm.
outlier type, terms in that kind of world. I don't know. Any other sort of words of wisdom or thoughts on, how these fine scientists from academia could have maybe done something different other than maybe just go to a different company,
Yeah,
maybe not follow their professor.
yeah,
Yeah,
and a lot of family companies are perfectly fine, and a lot of professors launch startups routinely and do very well.
yeah,
And there's nothing in here to say, or I don't believe the employees did their job badly or did anything wrong. There's the court couldn't find any evidence of that. So yeah, I think it's just they ignored too many red flags at the very beginning and didn't
yeah,
seek employment somewhere else. But yeah, they're probably
yeah,
fresh out of school. Hadn't been through as many war stories
yeah,
as we have. So
yeah.
I can't blame them that much,
Yeah, you
right?
need a job, It sounds
Well,
fun. You get to
and
work with your friends.
yeah, I mean it sounds good, and they knew the
Yeah,
professor, they probably trusted him, and uh, at the end of the day, they end up with almost $27 million. So it's
yeah.
it
Good
was a
for them.
painful
Good.
lesson, but things turned out okay.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, I think with that, we're going to call it
Mhm.
episode 6. Chris, thanks, man.
Yeah, we'll go back to a normal conventional story tomorrow.
Yeah, oh, speaking of, what is the next one? What are we going to do?
The
What are we talking
next one
about?
we're talking about EV in China. So there's a massive
Oh,
damages
yeah.
in the EV space in China, which we'll
Yep.
talk all about. It's good
Yep.
stuff.
It's big news. All
Massive.
right, man.
Okay.
Take it
Catch
easy.
you later. Bye.
We'll see you later. Thanks for listening. A little bit more about us. Tangibly is a platform to help companies identify and protect their trade secrets. It's an end-to-end solution and includes our proprietary AI that was designed to analyze patents and predict underlying trade secrets. Tangibly is used by companies large and small, as well as by law firms. Our investors include Madrona, as well as DLA Piper and Wilson Sonsini. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.